that was a huge maturity step that God kind of walked me through, was becoming a thermometer to a thermostat. You know, like walking into a room and like being able to adapt to an environment as a thermometer versus coming into a room and being like, I'm not changing based off of the environment of this room. I am who I am. And I really, like, y'all could meet me here or y'all can stay down there. I'm not changing. Yeah, because right now it's like Instagram, TikTok, YouTube Shorts. That's like huge.
Where I see it going is YouTube.
Yeah,
I think YouTube's the most important social platform. I think Instagram, TikTok, all that stuff has a short shelf life. You make a video, cool. It goes viral. You get 4 million views. Great. After a week, it's over.
Yeah.
And then like the thing about YouTube is it's evergreen. You make the video one time. Like there's still videos on YouTube, like how to install a toilet or that is like 10 years old, 15 years old or 10 years old or whatever. Sure. And it's just like still getting views because it's still relevant today.
Yeah, that's so true.
So like, I think making videos like that, something that's going to be like actually have value to people. So you say Stachy, right?
Yes.
Okay.
That's a good start. So Stachy or Stachy.
Okay.
That's like the most common. Some people are going to be watching this and be like, that's definitely Stanley. Okay. It's a crazy story.
I didn't know your name for the longest time. Like I heard Stachy, I heard Stanley.
Yeah.
No idea.
So in high school, so my whole life up until I was about 15, I was under the impression my name was Stanley. Like that, I thought that was my legal name. Mind you, I'm not an adult yet, so I didn't have any like legal documents or anything. And I was flying to Alaska, and I was 15, I believe. And I needed, because I was a minor flying by myself, I needed birth certificate and social security card. And so I'm just like, my mom packed all my stuff for me. I'm the only boy, so I'm really spoiled when it came to that. I had 4 sisters. I'm like sifting through my bag, and I'm like, pull out the birth certificate, and I'm like, this ain't it. Like, I don't know who this is. Stachy. My mom was like, let me see that. Yeah, that's your name. You're named after your grandfather. And I was like, how do you say it? I've never heard that, you know. And she didn't. It was like Stachy or something, you know. And to me it meant no. I was like, okay, that's crazy. I didn't know my name this whole time. And then when I got my license and stuff like that, it was obviously on all my legal documents. But then at 19, I gave my life to the Lord, and I was just like completely changed. And there's a lot of stuff tied to the Stanley name that I really didn't really want to, like, not that was my identity. But there was a lot of stuff tied to that name that I was really grateful when I felt this conviction to like go by my original name. And I kind of felt the conviction / permission. And so when I came back home, I got saved up in Pennsylvania. And when I came back home, I was already attending a church, and I had a new group of friends. I was living a pretty extreme lifestyle, different from what I am now. And so I didn't keep a lot of those friends, like for legal reasons. Okay. Like I kind of had to like disassociate myself from that group. And so I had a whole new community, but that knew me as Stanley now. And so, but going back to this new community and being like, hey, my legal name is Stachy. Or Stachy. I don't know how to pronounce it because I just learned it myself a couple of years ago. And I'd like to go by that name, you know, if you guys don't mind. And everyone was pretty on board. The last person to switch, fun fact, was my wife, because she had met me as Stanley. And she was kind of the last one to switch, which was kind of funny because now we're I'm the most intimate with her. And so it's funny to like, you would think if I like requested something that she'd be like right on board, you know. But it's like she was the last one to switch over. But yeah, that's the Stanley to Stachy, dude. I don't know, Statch.
It's a unique name for sure.
Yeah, 100%.
Your family. So your family's Ukrainian, is that correct?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And how long have you guys been in the area?
So my family moved here, and then my mom's whole family was. My grandfather was being persecuted as a Christian in USSR. And so they found, they got funded by a church to move to America. And so they found legal asylum, I guess, or whatever, however you want to word that. They were legal aliens, you know, they're here in the US. And then they finally became citizens over time. But I was born here. I've always been American, you know.
What was it like growing up being half American, half Ukrainian, or were you just always full on American?
No, you know what I think the hardest. So growing up, I think the biggest difference that kind of set me apart from my community was not necessarily being different in the sense of like culture, right? It was more so financial. I think because my parents like coming here and it like was such a big shift and they had to like start from scratch essentially. That was the biggest separate thing. Like I have more like memories tied to growing up poor than I do like growing up different, like speaking a different language and stuff. So I think growing up like culturally, it wasn't that big of a shift for people. I think like, okay, you kind of look like me. You know, I wasn't the minority in the sense of like my melanin was, you know, like I looked the same as you. I had to go to an extra class called ESL to learn how to pronounce TH and SH, you know, a little bit long. It took me a little longer than it took someone else, you know? So, but then like, you can't tell, like, I don't have an accent now. And so now people are just kind of shocked. Like what? Like they'll find out like 2 years later, like, what? You're not American? I'm like, well, I am American, you know, but my parents, I grew up speaking Ukrainian and Russian and like, you don't have an accent. I'm like, yeah, I was born here. So, but it's, yeah, culturally, I think like that wasn't like a big difference, I think. For me anyways, not from what I can remember. I made friends pretty quick. Didn't really matter what, you know, what they look like or where they came from.
Yeah. That's funny you say the thing about growing up and the difference was financial.
Mhm.
The same exact thing for me. It
Let's
wasn't
go. Broke babies.
I was felt more separated because of like social class,
Yeah,
or more so than just he's, you know, Ukrainian or Russian or
Mhm.
whatever. But yeah, just like I imagine you made friends pretty easily.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same here.
I was really good. I said, I almost threw you in that bunch. I was really good at not manipulation. I eventually got good at manipulating, but it started because I was really good at like lying and faking it, you know? And so like, I remember one time, my friend got like a PlayStation 2 or something for Christmas. And I was like, yeah, I got this huge TV, you know? And then he was like, oh, sweet. You know, what was that? I just like made up a size, you know, I was like, you know, 60 inch or 72 inch or something. And he's like, that's awesome, man. This is like elementary school. So then he comes over to my house and I wasn't even thinking about it, but he came over and he's like, hey, where's your TV? And we didn't have a TV. We didn't have a TV, period. You know, I told him I got one like in my room. We didn't have a TV until I was like 12. And I was in elementary school and he's like, hey, where's the TV you got? And I was like, oh man, like I felt really bad. And I was like, yeah, I lied about that. You know, I was just like, that was like one of the first times I can remember just being honest, you know? And he was just like, oh man, that's cool. Like that's no big deal. Like I get it. You know, I would do the same thing or something. And I was just like, man, that felt good. You know, like that was cool to be able to like be honest about, you know, about lying. And that was like the first time. And yeah, but I mean, I was like, yeah, that's just funny that I just thought about that story. But yeah, I like being like he growing up and then like poor and then not wanting to like hide, like I wanted to hide that from people. Yeah. And so being able to lie about stuff like that all the time and getting away with it, then I just kind of was like, I was able to fake it, you know? And so I think part of that was making friends was a little easier because it's like, I can almost like, I cannot be myself and then you'll believe me, you know? And so, but then there's a different type of friendship when you actually like, get to know somebody, like that friend that came over and was like, oh dude, that's like no big deal. And so now we're a different type of friend, you know, because like I can be honest with him. And
I love that. I really thought that story was going to go differently. I thought you were going to say, and I said like 70 inches. Yeah. And then he came over and it was tiny. And then that's when I learned how to use a tape measure. And then it became a contractor.
That's a good segue. Let's yeah.
So how long have you been, you're a Class A contractor,
yes.
right?
Yeah,
okay.
Yep.
And how long have you been doing that?
How long have I been licensed? Like as far as
how
long have I been doing construction?
How long? When did this start? When did you realize that you have a talent, or maybe you don't have a talent? Mm-hmm. Maybe you're not good at this at all, and you're just fumbling your way through it. But I'd imagine you have a talent with construction and just working with your hands. When did you realize that? Is that something that you grew up doing, or did you just discover that later on?
Yeah, so that's I grew up most of my life not knowing what I wanted to do. You know, I wanted to do engineering, and then I wanted to do, you know, be a firefighter, and then I wanted to do this and that and the other. So as far as construction, like residential construction goes, I went up to Alaska I started when I was 15. I'd go every summer. I have a lot of family up there. And so a lot of my uncles owned they either owned properties or they owned construction companies. And so I grew up helping them in the summer just a little bit. But my first exposure was, I was 18. I think I was 18 years old. And a friend of mine had a remodeling company and he needed some help. So I just helped him. I was working a full-time job somewhere else and I started helping him. And that was the first time I really, like, as an adult, 18 years old, was trying to like find what I wanted to do. And then I was like working with him. And I was like, I love working with my hands. Like, this is the first time I've been able to do this in a while and I really enjoy it. So I came back to him one week. I think I've been working with him for like 2 weeks. And I came back and I was like, hey, by the way, I need a full-time job. Like, I'm going to quit that and I'm working for you full time. And he was like, okay. Like he jokes about it now. He's like, you didn't give me a choice, bro. And I was like, yeah, I loved it,
What things did you try before you found what you really wanted?
Sales.
Oh,
right. I worked in, I sold drugs for a little bit. That was my first exposure. To sales.
I loved business when I started doing that. That's when I really
I was always in an
realized.
entrepreneurial mindset, But so, yeah, I did that in, middle school, high school. And then I actually went into legal sales. And then the one phone company that I worked for got sold out by a bigger company that was doing like fiber optics. So sales for a while, and then just like the food industry, just college town, young guy. It's like, well, you can go work as a server somewhere, so I did that for a little bit, kind of doing 2 jobs. And then I did a little bit of, there's a halfway house here. It's a nonprofit. There's a halfway house for convicts or ex-convicts that are transitioning from like long-term sentences going into society. And so there's a halfway house that I worked at where it would transition them from like, hey, this is how you work a job. This is how you pay rent. And so transitioning them from one lifestyle to out in the real world. So I worked there for a couple of years. I was just really passionate about that. And I still am. At some point, I think there's going to be a full circle there. I just kind of feel like that's I don't have a vision for it yet, but I just kind of have that kind of conviction. I feel like eventually it's going to I'm going to kind of do a full circle there. Maybe I'll start, participating again for, in some capacity for that place. But then I went from there then to construction full time.
What was it about working with your hands that really drew you to it?
I think I'm overthinking things a lot, and I always have been. And so working with my hands was a way to like get out of my head and kind of distract myself. That's how it started. Well, then I started to hate it a little bit. So I was like, this is just labor intensive and my body is hurting, And then it switched from me distracting myself to then there's a verse in the Bible, with everything you do it with your whole heart as if you're doing it for God, not for human masters. And that, like, do everything wholeheartedly, switched. It switched from like a distraction, like working with my hands, to then a passion working with my hands, because I hated it so much that verse had to convict me down, like deep down, to the point where I was like, even though this sucks, it's worth it, because I'm not doing this like I'm doing this to glorify God. And so that really helped me kind of hone in on my craft and really be able to like focus on just improving my skills, improving my, just being a better craftsman. And then from that, it just kind of blossomed into really what it is now, which is I've been fast tracked to becoming a general contractor. My vision, like especially in the Valley, it's rare. It's rare to have. I'm 28 years old as a Class A licensed contractor. There's a couple other guys I know in the Valley that are my age that are Class A contractors, but it's rare. Usually guys are getting it in their, probably 40, something like that, where they've had 20 years experience. Well, for me, I had 7 years experience, 6 or 7 years experience, and went for it and got it, And so I really have been fast tracked, even beyond what I expected. My expectation was to work for 10 years, and go try to be a contractor, maybe, But yeah, it was fast tracked.
What do people misunderstand about being a contractor?
What do people misunderstand about being a contractor? That we actually care. Well, I can't speak for everyone, but most of us, we actually care about the job and we care about our clients. And I think a lot of times clients think that we're just after the dollar, and so they don't, they're kind of afraid to trust us. And so now that has come with reason. There's been a lot of horror stories that you hear.
What's the craziest horror story that you heard?
All right, we're gonna keep names out of it, but
keep names out of it, but give us the story.
Yeah. This is pretty common, but there's a company that did it to the max. So essentially, you get a deposit for a job, and then you need to pay people for another job. And so then it's like, all right, you get a deposit for this job. Now they call it floating money, right? So it's like, all right, so I'm floating this money over here.
I call it Ponzi, but
it is. That's exactly, yeah. So that makes them feel better, I guess, by making up something. So they start floating money, and that's what it is. It's like, well, now you don't have money to fund this job, So the only way you stay ahead is by getting another job and getting another deposit, and then you put that over here, But your latest job is always behind. Or if it gets big enough, all your jobs get behind. And so there was a company that was over $2 million in the hole. And it got to the point after investigation, there was like jail time and like he's incarcerated.
Oh, crazy.
Yeah. So that's kind of something that was, that's pretty crazy.
You care. Mm-hmm. How do you show that to other people? Or how can they see that through your work, through word of mouth? How does that get out? How do you build your brand and like what you stand for in this industry that is not ripe with corruption, but sometimes can have a negative rep?
So word of mouth is huge in the Valley, but it's not as good as gold, right? You still have to be able to back up what you say. And so I think for me is like reminding myself that like I'm handed something fragile every time, like with a new client, and I really need to steward, not only steward the job well, but steward the client well and steward our trust well. And so a big part for me, an area that I need to grow on, and I'm constantly trying to improve on, is communication. That's a huge one. I think in the past, asking for, hey, we need 10,000, or we need, depending on the size, we need $100,000 deposit for the job. Once a builder sales pitches that and they get the money, well, it's like, okay, now you got to communicate that. So there's been a lack of communication after that deposit's been made as far as like where that money's going. And that doesn't hold the builder accountable at all. And so he can put it wherever he wants. And then the client's just assuming that the money's being used for good or for their own project. So for me, one thing that I'm really trying to improve on is communication. I think that's been huge. We've invested a bunch of money into software to help us communicate better with our clients, to help us communicate better with our subcontractors, with my employees. That way it kind of just works up the line and I can communicate as best I can to the clients. That's a huge one, because it's like if you're in constant communication with the client, they're going to know where their money's going. They're going to know how the project is flowing. If there's setbacks, why there's setbacks, how long things are going to take for material to come in or whatever like that. If there's constant communication, the clients just always like they can be confident in what's happening. So I think that's a huge one, is communication.
When did you actually start your own business, and how has it been growing?
3 years ago.
Wow, that's new.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's very new. We just hit our 3-year mark. Like,
congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah. My wife keeps tabs on all that stuff. I'm like, I've been telling people I'm like, yeah, we're 2 years. Sometimes I'd say 2. Sometimes I'd say 3. I was like, I don't really know. I don't know when we started. My wife keeps tabs of that, but we just recently, she was like, hey, we just hit our 3-year mark. We're officially going into 3 years. And so, yeah. So new.
Okay. Wow. Mm-hmm. So what was it like that first year?
The first year was amazing, believe it or not. Yeah, the first year I was mainly by myself. I didn't have a ton of work, but it was just myself. I didn't really have any overhead. I had to buy some tools, but I didn't really have a bunch of overhead. The second year was once I started hiring and once I started, it was stressful, buddy. Yeah, we did better financially on our first year than we did our second year. And I had more people, I had more projects, but it's just a lot more overhead.
What's the hardest thing when you start hiring people?
I think for me, it was like when I got to the point where I could hire people, I was like, I had wrong. That's what I'm looking for here. Help me out again. Basically, like I was.
You had the wrong idea, notion.
Maybe, but like I was like I was in an illusion. Like it was an illusion for me. Like I had the wrong impression. Like I lied to myself that I could hire more than I could handle. You know, it's kind of like this. Once I was ready to start hiring, I was like, oh, if I can hire 1, I can hire 4, I can hire 6. You know, more people, more money. That was like the wrong. That was wrong. So my second year when I started hiring, I went from 1 to 6 at the end of the year. Which I know full blown companies that have 6 people, and like they've been around for 30 years. And I was just really trying, like my vision was bigger than like, I was focused on my vision more than like what's practical and what's in front of me. And so I was just really trying to grow. And then I was like, all right, hold on. Why are we making less money with more people? Because I was losing efficiency. There's like, they say if you, is it double? I don't even know what the statistic is, but like you lose 20% of efficiency once you increase. Is it by every person or every time you double? Something like that. I think it's like old. Yeah, I don't either. Why did I even bring that up? I don't even know.
No, it's okay.
I don't even know if that's what they say.
No, I know as soon as you start involving other human beings and communicating with them, making sure everything is, like, they're not going to do it the exact same way as you. And there's managing them, then there's managing their work. It's a lot. And you're also dealing with other humans. So it's not as easy as just like, here's the process that I have, just add 2 people and we're going to ramp it up and we're done.
Yeah. Systems is huge, right? Like I think if you, like one thing I'm focusing on now, so after the second year we trimmed some of the fat, and it happened like naturally. I wasn't like, hey, y'all got to get rid of half of the crew because y'all suck. You know, it was like, it just happened naturally. There was, there was a sickness, and then there was someone else who had a different passion. So we transitioned him to something else. And then there was like a 2-man crew that kind of fizzled out. So that what was left was just lean, mean machine. You know, we were ready to go. And then I was ready to start hiring again this year, just with different systems in place now. And so systems is huge. I've been really focusing on that. How we can onboard someone as quick and as efficient as possible to get them where, now we have a 45-day trial period, where it's like, you're going to come on, but with the expectation that in 45 days, we're going to have a sit down and we're going to talk about, if you fit in with the culture, and what it's going to look like. And then at that moment, we usually talk about like if there's going to be a pay raise or if you're going to stay the same rate. But the 45 days I found is a really good number, because like the first 2 weeks someone works for you, they're the best employee you ever found, then it's like you start to get a little bit further in and like some of the truth starts to come out. And then it's like by day 45, I think you have a big enough picture to kind of see what's going on. But yeah, systems, a lot more systems than I had before, where I was just kind of like, shooting from the hip, trying to, if you had breath in your lungs, you're hired, it's like, I want you. But now it's like, all right, I need team members to be hungry, humble, and smart. And so if you're, I don't remember the author, but there's an author that wrote a book about that. And, I need you to be hungry. I need you to show up every day on time, ready to work. I need to see that there's like I don't need you to have a passion about this necessarily, but I need you to have I need you to be passionate, right? So like, I need to see that like, you're not just like showing up, dragging your feet. Like I need you to see that this is actually something that you can grow in. So that's the hungry part. The humble part, I need you to put others before yourself, right? If it's team members, if it's clients, I got to see that. And that's not something that you can train, right? That's something that you're going to be able to see. And the smart, I need to be able, one thing we say all the time, I adopted this from, like it's a Marine saying, and it's, improvise, adapt, overcome. And so it's like, for you to be smart, I need to be able to see that when an issue comes up, I need you to be able to improvise, adapt, overcome. And so if you can't do that, then you're maybe not smart enough to be able to handle this career, because stuff's going to come up all the time.
Yeah. You just have a small workaround or this.
Yeah. You got to be able to figure it out. And if you can't figure it out, if you're constantly calling my lead guy if you're constantly calling me, then it's like now there's no efficiency now, because it's like, you have to stop what you're doing. This person has to stop what they're doing. I have to stop what I'm doing to help you figure out what to do when you drilled a hole in the wrong spot in the cabinet drawer. When if you were able to improvise, adapt, overcome, you would drill a hole at the wrong spot, and you're like, well, this can't be fixed. Let me figure this out. So either you call me or you call the lumber supplier, preferably, or you call whoever you got the cabinets from. Hey, is there any chance we ordered these cabinets from you? Is there any chance that I can just get a replacement door? Like, is that a possibility? And they say, yeah, sure. With every cabinet purchase you actually get 2 free replacement drawers or doors. So just tell me which one it is, what size it is, and we'll send another one. It'll be there in a week or 2 weeks. It's like, all right, cool. And then you can come to me with a solution rather than a problem. Say, hey, I ran into this, but so-and-so is sending us a new cabinet. Just let the client know that it'll be here in 2 weeks, and sorry for the mistake. That's 2 different types of people. One of those I want on the team. One of those I don't want on the team.
Yeah. And so, like you said, it weighs down the whole team, because then it interrupts everyone else's process and their flow. Yeah. So what's this third year been like now that you have your systems in place? What's it been like? It's
been really good. It's been really, really good. I love my team. I have a solid team. We're officially going in this season now where I have repeat clients. And I think that's really comforting for me. As anyone would be, I think, to kind of have that reassurance that I did a good enough job for somebody that they want me to come back, especially where it's really, we live in an area where it's condensed with builders. And, there's people that come around from miles and miles around to find a builder here. Are you? Yeah. Do you reference like where we are in your podcast?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's called
cool.
The Friendly City Podcast.
Okay. That's cool. So I do. I've had some.
Some of the podcasts you've been on don't reference.
No. All the other podcasts I've done. No, I've had some advice from other like social media, larger social media people, and they've said like, be careful with privacy, but that just might be their like personal preference. So I don't care. I'm like, I'm showing my face. I know people like, there's people that I know that like don't make sure they don't record exactly where they are because they don't want people to know. For me, I'm like riding down the road in my face. I'm like, hey guys, it's Stachy here, going down so-and-so street. Maybe that's a little foolish of me, but
no. I think it's fine.
Okay. Cool.
I think people want to see where you are.
Cool.
And I think where you are is important.
Okay. Well, then we'll backtrack. You edit that part out. We'll backtrack here. So in the Shenandoah Valley, it is really concentrated, specifically Rockingham County is really condensed with builders. And there's people that will come from Nova, from Maryland, even, going from out west, people that are building, like somebody from Ohio that's building in West Virginia. They'll Google something and it'll show up builders here, and then we'll meet them closer to West Virginia or something. And so it's really is common. It is a reoccurring theme that people from far away are calling on builders from Rockingham County. So for me as a builder to be in an area with a ton of builders, to have clients that are asking me to come back, that was a huge pat on the back for me. I was really proud of that. So year 3 now is like, we're starting to experience some of that. And it's really cool. We have repeat contractors that we do sub contracting for, and then we have repeat clients that we've GC'd for in the past that now are asking us to come back and do something else. So year 3 has been really, all of my mentors and stuff say to like, basically till year 5, you're in survival mode. I kind of have rebuked that a little bit. Sorry for all the mentors that might be watching this, but there's some stuff that I'm just like, you know what? I'm not gonna tie myself to that. If the Lord wants something different for me, then so be it. If it's going to be worse for 10 years, then that's what it is. But if he wants to, press me down and be able to, expedite the process, and I get to see fruit in year 3, then that is what it is too, And so I think that's really what it's been. I think year 3 has been, really, we're starting to kind of see it bloom a little bit. I think about everything in building terms because I'm a builder. And so year 1, I was under the impression year 1 was a foundation year, right? Because you think first step in building was foundation in my head. Well, then when we got to year 2, I was like, wait, this feels like foundation. So what was year 1? And that was breaking ground year. So year 1 was like when excavators, bulldozers come in and they're clearing the lot. I experienced a lot of just kind of clearing stuff, like starting from scratch, trying to figure stuff out. then year 2 was like starting the foundation. And there was a lot of like, it's funny that like some of the parallels was like, because in year 2 I had all those employees. It's like sometimes you have piles of dirt from the year 1, like from the breaking the ground phase. You have either excess like material, like rocks or tree logs, like limbs, or you have piles of dirt that you're not going to be able to use once you're done building. Sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. And so I just had piles of dirt and piles of material, which in my head, the parallel was, extra laborers that I took on. And so sometimes what you have to do is you have to call other builders. You have to call maybe other people that are interested and say, hey, are you interested in taking some of this material off site to kind of clear up some of my land here? And they can utilize it somewhere else. And so that was kind of a parallel for me. Now in year 3, I think we're starting the framing phase. So like we have our walls poured, and we're starting to frame. So we're starting to kind of see, like, with our systems in place, we're starting to see some of that, similarly in framing, you're starting to see some of that structure take place. Like, okay, like the framing is like, we're starting to see the shape of the house, And so that's how I feel with year 3 with our systems in place. Like, okay, I'm starting to see the business take shape, and we're starting to have like an actual culture with the guys, with some of those systems encouraging that. And so that's how year 3, I think year 3 is like framing phase. We're starting to see business take shape, and okay, this is what it's going to look like. This is how we're going to onboard people. This is the expectations we have of our employees. This is how we're communicating to our clients. Like, this is a lot of things we're doing now as things I see us doing in 20 years.
Yeah. So talk a little bit more about your vision for this business in like 5 to 10 years.
Dude, just grow. Just grow. I don't have like a stopping point, honestly. And I don't know if that's like an entrepreneurial mindset or if that's like stupid. It's just but it's just so. Like I just
ambitious.
Yeah, it's my vision is just to be ambitious. Is just to keep growing, however that looks.
What do you think it'll look like in 10 years or in 5?
So in 5 years, I think it'll look like more project management. I think a lot of my guys, I got to be careful because I don't know how much of this I've shared with my guys, but so I'll just say it. But like, I think in 5 years, it's going to be more project management. I think we can scale more with project management. With that, I want to equip my leaders to be able to, I want to equip my guys to become leaders. And so a lot of like, you referenced it earlier, like when you hire people, it's like, you're not just multiplying the work. Like now you have to deal with people. And so Dave Ramsey, coined the quote where it's like, business is easy until you involve people. And so it's like, business itself is cool. It's like when you start hiring, when you start dealing with people, now it's getting tricky and sticky, So it's like, now this is, but I think part of the way that I've navigated that is like really trying to develop leaders.
How do you do that? That's not an easy thing to do.
That is a whole separate podcast. I'm really passionate about that. I think the hungry, humble, and smart thing is huge. You have to start with that. If somebody's hungry, humble, and smart, you can really like start to develop from that. One way that I've learned from my experience is to delegate responsibility. Don't just delegate the things that are hard for you to do. Like from a business standpoint, yes. Like if I'm like, for me, I'm really bad at estimating, right? And so I had a mentor tell me that, all right, let's say like on a scale of 1 to 100, right? On a rating system, we'll say you're maybe a 40% on estimating. All right. You pour all your resources into estimating. Okay. In about 2 years, you might increase that to 10% more, right? 40 to 50. That's still failing, bud. So it's like, he's like, you could delegate that, figure out a way to delegate that. And then you could increase 10% on something that you're already 80 or 90% on, and you could be great at that thing. So from a business standpoint, yeah, delegate out the things you suck at. From a leader trying to multiply leaders standpoint, if I'm trying to teach somebody, I need to like work myself out of a job, So it's like, I need to be able to teach them what I'm even good at. And so that's one thing that I would, say is a really guaranteed way, to multiply leaders, like to be able to work yourself out of a job. Like if you can teach somebody what you're good at, then they're going to either be really good at that, or they're going to delegate that out and focus on what they're good at. But one thing that's like, I have a guy that's really, we're trying to focus on developing him into project management right now. He's kind of our guinea pig for a 5-year plan. So if we can train him up to be a project manager, then we know that we did something right. And so then we can really hone in on what we did there. But part of that is like, I'm teaching him things that I'm good at, right? I'm not just delegating things that are hard for me. It's like, I'm like, hey, I want to be able to teach you this, and this is how I do it. And if it works for you, do it. If it doesn't, then figure out another way. But this is the end. This is the result I want at the end.
Speaking of the result that you want at the end, the name of your business is Legacy Build. Can you tell me how you came up with that?
Yeah. So when I got saved at 19, that word legacy really, there was a brother in Christ that was really, he was like a word that he was going through in his life. He already had kids and he was married, and legacy was like a big word for him. And so that was the first time I really thought about legacy, was when I was 19. And then that word just kept coming up in my life. Like it kept meaning different things in different seasons. So when it came time to name the business, it was right there. It was right on the forefront of my mind. The word legacy needed to be in there. Like, what am I going to be leaving behind? Not necessarily from an inheritance standpoint, not solely from inheritance. Yes, I want my family to be able to receive something when I pass, financially, but leaving an inheritance is good, but that's not what legacy like solely stands for us. It's like, what are we, when we're gone, like, is there still
an impact?
Yeah, an impact. Is there still systems in place that are still happening, even though the people that started it aren't there anymore? With that name, though, there's a lot of pressure that recently I've been thinking about, because there's like this pattern where I'm around other businesses that are selling right now. And so it's like, that was like not their end goal. I have one that was his end goal. There's another businessman that has kind of walked with me, and he just recently was like, you know what? It doesn't matter. Like, I'm not this, like, if I lose this business tomorrow, it's no big deal. For me, with the name like Legacy, it's really like, I don't have that option. Like, there's no plan B. Like, this is my plan, like, to build this, what we've started, and to be able to grow it. And we can grow it in different directions, and we can multiply even in different, we might start other different LLCs with that. But like, Legacy Build, I don't have the option of selling, and so it's like, I got to make this work. Like, I'm desperate,
I love that. Like, burn the ships,
Yeah, exactly.
Speaking of growth, how has the business been growing? What did you do in the beginning that, I need to stop asking 2 questions in one. How did you grow the business?
How did I grow the business? So for me, like, being obedient to the Lord has been the only reason that it's grown the way it has. Making sure that a revelation that I had, which is like a spiritual connection. I've been mentoring some guys, some guys, and I'll use like Christianese words, and they're like, what's a revelation? Like, I know it's a book in the Bible, but so revelation is like a connection that I made, from practical, like what's happening right now, to spiritual, like something that God might have shown me from, picking up a dirty coin and like putting it in your pocket, and then it hits you like, yo, God saw me as that coin too. Like, he could have left me on the ground, he could have left me in the dirt, but he picked me up, cleaned me off, and put me in my pocket.
So good.
Right. That's a revelation. And so revelation that I had was Jonah being swallowed by the big fish. Right. And I had this revelation when I was working at another company, and God was calling me to start my own thing, but I couldn't even hear his like call for me, because I was comfortable in the fish. So like, he'd called me to start my own business a while ago, and I didn't answer that calling. I was afraid. And so I was essentially, my revelation was, am I in a fish? And then I got really comfortable in that fish, where it's like, I started painting the inside, I started moving furniture in, and it's like, I feel like this fish belly is my home now. And really it's not. So it's like, you can be comfortable in your disobedience, or you can realize what it is, like call a spade and be like, I'm being disobedient right now. So what was the last thing God called me to do? I need to be obedient in that. And so that for me was, I'm constantly like evaluating, like, is there an area in my life where I'm being disobedient in? Like, is there something that God has called me to that I'm like postponing? Delayed disobedience is disobedience, right? Or delayed obedience is disobedience. Let me paraphrase that. So delayed obedience is disobedience. So is there something that I'm like trying to push back? Like, it doesn't make sense, in my pea brain, but it's like, God's trying to call me to something. So me just acting on that and being obedient and walking in faith has really expedited us, I think, to where we are. Seeking mentorship was not my idea. I wanted to
more about that. You brought up your mentors
yeah.
a few
So
times.
I wanted to grow by myself. I wanted to take pride in what I did, and I wanted to be able to get credit for building something in 5 years and 10 years. Be like, yo, my man started from scratch. He grew up poor.
From the mud.
Yeah, started from the trenches. I wanted that credit, and so I didn't want mentors. I didn't want people helping me. Well, that was being disobedient because the Lord was calling me to ask some guys some questions that had a lot more experience than me. And I was like, I just kept putting it off. Well, then eventually I was like, all right, God, I really had this problem that I couldn't solve. And I was like, it seemed like the end of the business for me, honestly. It seemed like the end of the world. I was like, this is it. This is, we're going to go under. So then God really challenged me to ask somebody that I knew had a similar problem before and was very successful now. And so I eventually, swallowed my pride, and I went over there and I asked him, and he became a business mentor, and he had really good advice, and we're friends now. But that was my first step in walking in obedience. And that opened up the door to be like, yo, I don't have to this isn't about me, like I can learn from other people too. So then it's just like, it just got to be like asking people like, hey, would you be willing to mentor me? Like, would you be willing to be a business mentor? Because like, I see what you did. You've grown something really well. And I don't know if you're passionate about teaching somebody what you did, but I'm sure you have you're a well of wisdom, and I'd love to be able to tap into that. I don't want to make it inconvenient for you. I'll meet you where you are, but I'd love to be able to learn from you. And that's open up. Like I've had
what's that open up for you?
Oh my goodness. Like softwares, like the softwares that I've been able to find, that's been through mentors. Being able to hire well has been from mentors. And I think a lot of like the up to year 5 growing pains that people have, we've been able to expedite some of those and even avoid some of them. Not that we haven't had growing pains, we still do, but we've been able to kind of maneuver around some of those obstacles because a mentor has just been like, hey, don't go that way, do this instead. I'm trying to think of some like practical, like actual steps that they've helped me with, but
those are great.
For instance, one practical one, sorry. One practical one would be like 1099 versus W-2 employees. So in the Valley, because we're so condensed with builders, there's a lot of people that work for builders. And some of the people that maybe haven't done the research might be sold a pitch to say, hey, we're going to put you on 1099 tax form. You're essentially going to be your own employee. You're going to work for us. Okay. That's not a self-employed, you don't work for yourself then. Like there's builders that are 1099ing their guys to avoid to have a tax break, so they don't pay the taxes. And so really, I don't know who's in charge of that, the IRS, I think, or the Better Business Bureau. Somebody's really starting to crack down on that. And so like in the Valley specifically, because it's illegal to tell someone that they're self-employed, but you have to tell them what time to show up in the job site. You have to explain how to do the job.
Treat them like an employee even though they're a contractor.
Exactly. And that's illegal. And so a lot of people have been benefiting from that financially. But it's not right. And so one thing that a mentor told me early on was, when you hire, don't do 1099, do W-2 employees. Right. And this was somebody that was walking in it with integrity, and I looked up to, and so I trusted them. And I said, it doesn't really make sense on paper because I know a lot of people that aren't doing it this way. But I'll do it because I trust you. That right there that helped us dodge bullets that we would be having to dodge now. If I had a crew of 1099 employees, like they're cracking down on that right now. Yeah, I'd be sweating. I'd be, like, oh man, what? Wouldn't have even realized it was wrong. It would just been from learning from observing other people. But that one thing from a mentor was huge, because now we have W-2 employees, and now I can offer, we can even talk about benefits and stuff like that comes with.
It's like one of the blessings of actually working for someone is like the job that I have now is amazing benefits, and I just feel blessed to even be a part of it. And whenever you're building your own business, if you can offer that to other people, that's huge. So there's a lot of contractors here in the area. What have you done? How do you stand out? Because if the area is so saturated with people that are just like you, what do you do to stand out to someone that maybe doesn't know you, someone comes down from Nova, they're looking for a contractor. Like, what makes legacy builders stand out?
Interesting. Huh. From living majority of my life trying to pretend like something I'm not.
Mm-hmm.
I think in my maturity, spiritual and just, physical, I'm at a point now where I don't care what you think of me. I'm gonna be myself, and I think that alone makes us stand out. Yeah. And so I think like I'm not a salesman. I'm not trying to sell you anything. Like I'm going to tell you like it is. I've gotten turned down for jobs because my estimate was accurate. And so because they've gotten three bids total, which I highly recommend. Anybody doing work, get multiple people to ask you, ask multiple people to come and bid the job. Even if it's your friend, like just get 2 other people to come out and give you a price, because it's so saturated, the numbers are all over the place. And so it's like, really, I'm not saying go for the lowest price, but have 3 other people, meet 3 other people, see what their craftsmanship might look like, see if they're going to follow through, have them show you pictures of other jobs and stuff like that. So with estimating, I've done accurate estimating, and because I'm so bad at estimating, like that mentor I told you, he was like, you can get 10% better, blah, blah, blah. So I really honed in on how can I delegate this out? Who can I give this to? So I found another builder that was willing to do my estimating for me, and he's phenomenal. And there's other builders in the Valley that want to see me grow, and they see potential, and they've really been a huge blessing. And his company is one of them. But he personally is really good at estimating. He'll go out there and he'll look at it and be like, yeah, this will be like, this much. And he's like within like, it'll be like a $2 million project, and he's within like 10 grand. Like he does like development stuff, and he'll be like, yeah, this is about this. We'll do it for this price. Like just standing out there, it takes me like 3 months to get back to some people like with like, hey, how much is it going to cost to build the deck? I'm like, oh man, let me think about it. But so he started doing my estimating, and he's on point. And so there was a house that I estimated right to the T, and they wanted to go with someone they were like, man, that just seems so expensive. They're like $650 or whatever it was. They're like, there's a guy telling us you can do it for, $100,000 less. And I was like, looking at these numbers, I don't see how that's possible, but okay. I was like, I'm not gonna try to sales pitch you here. I don't want you to lose, but I think just me being myself and
I think one of the ways that I really see your authenticity is on social media.
Yeah.
So
it's so much fun.
I love the way that you show up on social media.
Appreciate
and lately, I saw you had that reel that just blew up.
Yeah.
It's at what, 4 million views now?
Yeah, that's right.
It's insane. I think I remember we talked a few months ago.
Yeah.
A year ago, maybe. It was a long time ago. And I was just telling you, man, you got to start.
Yeah.
You got to start posting on social media. I think you have a great personality.
Yeah.
I think people want to see that. I think with social media or video specifically, it comes across the best. Like it's easy to get a good idea of who someone else is based on how they talk, what they say, their expressions, and you're funny too.
Yeah,
like
I appreciate that.
You have that going for you.
Yeah.
So I think social media is definitely a huge thing that you can use to kind of highlight and show what makes you different, or show that you are being authentic. Because, people can, like you say that you're not here to give people a sales pitch. That's good, because people can see through that. They can smell that a mile away.
Yeah.
Everyone knows it's coming. Like you're not fooling anyone. But when you're just genuinely being who you are and being authentic, that stands out.
Yeah. That's fun. Yeah. The social media thing, that was huge on you, dude. Cause I was like, I wasn't sure. Like I was honestly, I have been off social media for like other reasons. I just didn't have any social media. And so when I started the business, I was like, I kind of want to have some brand recognition. I want to have some company presence on social media and stuff. And it's free marketing,
Yeah.
And so I got on there, and I was just kind of like, fiddling around with it. And you had messaged me a couple times, and I was like, I love this. Like, so I got a new camera too because of you.
Let's go.
Recently. Yeah. So
what'd you get?
It's the
little, the one with the little eye on it.
Yeah.
The
like
Osmo 3.
Yeah. The Osmo Pocket 3. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's the one I use a lot.
Okay, sweet. Yeah, you're gonna have to show me how to use it, because I'm like, I did some research, I changed all the settings, and so now it's like the gray one. You know what I mean? Like where it's like you record the video, and it's like kind of gray, so you can edit the colors and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't even know what
I don't even do that.
Okay, you just do the automatic.
I just do the automatic.
All right, that's good.
It takes way too much effort. I don't have the time for that.
I'm switching it right now. But yeah, like I got that. That's all because, I was talking to you and just like you really encouraging to increase the social media presence and stuff.
Yeah.
And
it's free, man. Like you said, it's free advertising. The era where we can just post things for free and it can get free attention is ending. Like the amount of content that's going to be coming out in the next year is going to be so saturated that like the limited time that you have right now to like post something for free and people are going to see it and actually share it, like it, comment on it, is that window is dwindling quick.
What do you think? We're going to switch the because this is something that interests me too. So do you mind if we switch and I start asking you questions a little bit?
Sure.
So what do you think with that? Because this is a passion of mine too. Like I've went from just like doing it for advertising. Now I'm like, it's fun,
Right.
Like,
it should be fun.
Yeah. And so what do you think, like you're saying it's coming to an end? I also feel that. Like I'm like, all right, this is just everyone's doing it now. Like you have old guys that are, 60 years old that like they're hiring, marketing people that are just making Instagram videos.
Yeah.
And so what do you think, like what direction do you think it's heading? I have an idea, but what do you think, like
where it's heading?
Yeah, because right now it's like Instagram, TikTok, YouTube Shorts. That's like huge.
Where I see it going is YouTube.
Yeah,
I think YouTube's the most important social platform. I think Instagram, TikTok, all that stuff has a short shelf life. You make a video, cool, it goes viral, you get 4 million views, great. I made some videos that had millions of views, amazing. Okay, it was on LinkedIn, not on Instagram, but after a week, it's over.
Yeah,
and then like what? The thing about YouTube is it's evergreen. You make the video one time. Like there's still videos on YouTube, like how to install a toilet or it's like
10 years old,
15 years old or 10 years old or whatever. Sure. And it's just like still getting views because it's still relevant today.
Yeah, that's so true.
So like, I think making videos like that, something that's going to be like actually have value to people. Like maybe things that most people don't think about when they build a log cabin or, whatever projects you're doing. I think making valuable videos that are a little bit longer that can they're going to have a longer shelf life and they're going to be evergreen and people are going to keep coming back to them. And then I think that's really like I said before, how you build trust. That's how when you see a client out of Nova or anywhere that's going to see that they're going to spend 30, 40, maybe an hour with you. And then they're going to be like, wow, I trust this person. I can see the process. I can see how they came in with the estimate. And I think another thing is not shying away from your weaknesses. Or like you said, you're not that good at contract or estimating. How funny would it be if like there's like first part of the video, you come in and estimate it and it's just like way off. And then you have a real builder come in and then like you can just all make it a part of the thing.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. And I enjoy those videos the most also.
Right.
So it's like I enjoy, like even on Instagram though, I like long themed videos. You know what I mean? Like I've been following some accounts even in construction where it's like the guy's waking up making a cup of coffee in the morning. He's like rubbing his eyes, turning the lights on, and it's like I'm sitting there watching this and I'm like, oh, he's getting ready to go to work. This is good. Starts his truck. I'm like, that's a nice truck. Where's he? I wonder what his office looks like. It's like I love those videos.
Yeah.
And it's literally just someone waking up, making coffee and going to work. But it's like they just took the time to, set the camera up and record it. And so that's like that. Yeah. It's like I enjoy that. I enjoy watching that the most. So it's like someone else out there's got to enjoy that too.
Sure.
And
another thing is, so when you're making content, one of the best things that I've heard that's helped me out is make content for who you were 2 years ago. So like 2 years ago in your business, where were you at? Okay. So you were at a point where you just started hiring people and then you started building out systems. Make content for that person that's there at that specific spot. You talk a lot about having mentors, other builders in the valley that have helped you out. Here's a way that you can help them out, but doesn't have to be limited to just the valley or this area. You can just make content for like, hey, when I was first starting my business, the first year was amazing because I was doing this, this, and that. But then I started hiring people, and that's automatically a hook right there. You can't I think one of the best things, you can't tell a story without having some conflict. And when you start speaking from your experience and like where you struggled, wherever the conflict came in your life and what you were doing, people are going to listen to that and then just offer advice. Tell yourself, like, make videos to yourself 2 years ago.
Dude, that's so sick. I love that. Yeah, that's really good. That's a reminder. I'm constantly, like when I'm talking to my guys, I'm like, using words or like I'm using like phrasing and stuff, and I'm like, wait, let me step back. Like this is a teaching moment versus like a talking to you moment, you know.
A lot of people struggle with the curse of knowledge. You think that just because you know, everyone knows it.
Yeah.
That's just not true. Yeah, but I am excited about your content journey. Has so with social media specifically, have you gotten any clients from that, or have any clients commented on that?
Yeah, actually, I have. Yeah,
tell me more about that.
So I've gotten that wasn't the expectation, but I would just not from like individual videos, but just the fact that I have social media presence. I've gotten probably 3 or 4 clients that have reached out just via message and been like, hey, are you, because I think in my bio it says where I'm located out of too. And so I think people are like, hey, would you be willing to give us a price for this? Or so yeah, we've actually had some leads from social media. I was not expecting that at all. So that's been pretty fun. But that's like, part of me is like, okay, I don't necessarily want people reaching out because of social. I don't know. It's weird. Like it felt weird receiving messages because it's like, man, they saw my videos versus like, because I think around here it's mostly word of mouth or like marketing, like a yard sign or something, you know. And like, man, they saw me through social media. They saw me being goofy, and now they want me to do a job for them. But what you're talking about, like authenticity and all that stuff, is like what people are looking for. So that does line up. It's just a weird feeling for me. I'm not used to it yet. Like, I didn't use social media as a like solely marketing platform. It's just like a way that I can express myself and show some of the business culture, like some of our company culture and some of like my personality through it, you know? And so I love that people are reaching out through it, but it's just something I have to get used to, I guess. It's a weird feeling. I'm like, man, because you also have to have like this line of like professionalism, right? So it's like they just saw a video of me being goofy, but I'm responding to them using big words. I'm like, I would love the opportunity to be able to work with you guys and to be able to make your vision become a reality. But it's like, they're like, bro, we just saw you yelling and we just saw you. Yeah. Exactly. So it's like, is this the same person?
I think people can tell the difference.
Okay. Like I gotta be able to act professional sometimes. So, and social media isn't really always the time where I'm acting professional. So it's just funny to me that like we're getting professional leads from a platform where we're not acting professional on it. So
yeah, I think that's great. So you don't want people to reach out to you on social media?
I do. Let me take that back.
Where should they reach out to you? If somebody wants to work with you, where should they reach out to you?
That's a good question. I think social media is great. Do social media. I think the best way for me, unfortunately, is phone call, because like I tell people all the time, like I even have friends like that when I started this career path, I had friends that were like, I'm just going to be raw. Their feelings were hurt because I was not accessible as readily. I was readily accessible, it's like they could catch me, but like they would have to catch me in different moments. Like if I was like, and that was all texting. And so, cause I used to text a ton because I had a ton of time on my phone. And so I was texting a lot. And so I had friends, like I had multiple friends like have transparent, vulnerable conversations with me. Like, hey bro, my feelings are hurt because like we don't talk anymore. Like we don't this and that and the other. And I told him, I said, I would love if when you're thinking about me, if you could just call me. And if when I'm thinking about you, I could just call you. Like, can we try that? And then from that, like that kind of, that's how I roll now. Like, it's so much easier for me. Like if my phone's in my pocket and I'm doing something at work and I feel it vibrating, like I'm like, okay, a phone call's coming in. I'm going to pick it up regardless of how busy I am. Like regardless of what's going on, I usually pick up the phone. But if it's a text, I'll look at it and I'll put it back in my pocket and I'm like, I'll respond to that later. And then I don't get to it,
I know all too well.
Yeah. So that's for me, like phone calls. I don't know. I don't have my phone number on social media though. So reach out on social media. You know what I mean? Like I'm not saying I hate it. I'm not saying don't. I'm just saying it's weird for me. It's something I got to get over because like I'm just not used to it yet. But yeah, for sure, reach out over social media. Website? We don't. We have access to one through the software that we're doing, but we haven't set any of that up yet.
Yeah, I think website's overrated.
Really?
Yeah,
it's good to know. Well, this one's free, so I might as well use it because we're not free. We paid for it.
They're important. Let me rephrase. Websites are important, but you can make an amazing website and no one's going to come visit it unless you're getting the word out there and you're marketing. And I think social media, I think YouTube, way more important than your website. personally, but
my phone number and email. That's like the easiest ways to reach. That's like business wise. That's how you reach out. Which is plastered all over our trailers and vans and stuff like that. So if you're in the valley, you can snap a picture of it.
Perfect. All right. Well, reach out to, what's your email? Give it to the people.
Stachy, stachy.legacybuild@gmail.com.
Perfect. All right. And we'll also have it linked at the bottom of this episode. Stachy, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure talking. Let's do this again sometime.
Yeah, please. That'd be sweet.
We're back. You thought we were done, but we're not.
That's right.
Turns out we have more to talk about. Every time the camera cuts, that's when the real conversation starts going.
You need to set up more cameras on the couch.
Yeah. Then we should have different. Like here, we talk about like maybe the business portion. There, we talk about like that's the counselor's couch, and there we talk about the feelings.
Dude, you're so like you have so much vision, and I feel like you'll say stuff jokingly, or like you'll say stuff just kind of like out there, like you just put stuff out there, but like it's legit, like great ideas.
Thank you, man.
Like that's insane. Like that's a great idea. And like the mobile, like doing this, like throwing this in the back of a car in a trailer or something and taking it somewhere else and doing a podcast sitting in the actual environment where like that's a huge idea. And that's just like you just like spew stuff out and it's like that's crazy.
I might do that at Mr. J's. I'm going to be interviewing the owner. And like, how dope would it be just to set up at Mr. J's?
That'd be sick.
Or like, I don't know. One of the visions that I have for this podcast is to do a podcast with someone, get like 10, 15, 20 clips for them for social media. Because most businesses aren't that good at creating content for social. Like you're the exception.
No, I'm not, dude.
Yes, you are.
I just got lucky a couple times. I'm like,
no, but you're actually like doing it every day.
Okay.
Just about. Most people don't do that. Most people like will post something on their social media and wait a week or 2 weeks and then post something else and it doesn't perform. Like it's just.
So when do I get followers?
they're coming, dude.
They're coming.
Right, they're coming. You just got to do it for like a couple years. I think. I mean, I wouldn't know. I don't have the followers, so I don't know. Yeah. But so the point is, creating content is hard. It takes a lot of time, and most people don't have the time, and they don't want to. And it's just difficult to do. So what I found works really well is having a podcast because I can dedicate 1 hour a week, or I mean, it's more, but I can. Dedicate, I can dedicate a set chunk of time, and then from that you can create 15, 20 clips.
Yeah, or you were doing that with Holden. I
mean, I have like so much more, and I'm gonna keep feeding them out throughout the week.
And I love watching. I'm like, wait, is this one I saw yet? And I have to like turn the audio on. I'm like, I didn't see this one yet. I'm like, all right, I love that. My wife actually was sorry to interrupt you. No, my wife was actually sorry to interrupt you, but I'm gonna keep talking.
Sorry, but not that sorry.
It's like an excuse to like interrupt somebody. Like no disrespect, but I'm about to say something super disrespectful.
Anytime you say "but" in a sentence, you just go ahead and ignore the whole first part.
So sorry to interrupt, but I'm going to keep talking. My wife was actually watching because you had sent me access to the whole video, and which if go leave a comment if you want the video, right? Is that how you're doing that?
Yeah.
So you'll send it directly, or
you can just go to YouTube. You can go to Spotify. It's everywhere, man. Cool. It's on Apple Podcasts. If you listen on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, make sure you leave a rating on it and a comment. That would help it out.
Perfect. So I got the link in the DM, and so but my wife was watching the clips, and she was like, when is he going to release that? Like, she's like, I like every time he gets to the end, she's like, I want to finish the story. But it's like, so those are good. Like, those are good cliffhangers, you know? Like,
I was debating if I should like keep them on cliffhangers to like, get people to want to see more, or should I like finish the point? Because like from the point of the reel, I should finish it so it's a cohesive thought in a story, so that people can be like, oh, that was really good. I should watch that. Or if I should like, give them a cliff and be like, you're gonna have to watch the whole thing. Yeah, I think that's 2 hours of your time now. I got you now.
I think that's a good strategy.
When we were talking earlier, you said that whenever you have a business, that's the closest thing that you have to having a child, because you have to steward it. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah. That's how it felt for me. Was when I started the business, I felt like God challenged me with this thing that I was supposed to be responsible for, to turn into something, like to mature into something else. And so the closest comparison I had to that was having a child. And it was the birth of something new. And I was handed something that was really so delicate that it could really go any direction. And with the business, I just felt responsible for it. And so that's kind of what I meant by that. Was just like, it just felt really, I felt really challenged. I felt this like healthy pressure. I think we live in a day where like stress and pressure is like, we try to brush that off. I think it's healthy, like a certain amount of it. And so I felt a healthy pressure to be like, to turn this into something and to mature it into something. And I was able to receive so many connections of like, how God loves me, through taking care of this business. And I think one of the quickest revelations I got was that, the Lord is Jehovah Jireh, that he's my provider. Because in this industry anyways, I don't know if it's similar. I'm sure it is in other career paths, but for me, being on the business owner side of the finances, being able to see that money fluctuate, like it's a roller coaster, bud. And it's like, it gets pretty intense. And so that was one of the quickest revelations I had, is like really having to put my faith in God providing for me and my family, and other families that I'm responsible for providing for through this thing that God gave me. And we're just gonna be transparent here. We'll talk about money. That like, maybe last year, it was a point where, where you might have 40K in your bank, and the next day you have 2,000 in your business account because you have all these bills and stuff. And so now to be at a point where in year 3, me and my wife were just talking about this, where, where we came from, like me. So I grew up poor, and then my parents, they ended up getting some stable jobs and stuff. And so we were able to get a TV and stuff like that. But then when I got married, I was being obedient to the Lord and staying in the trades, and I was making like no money. I was making $12 an hour. My wife was pregnant, and we were living in an apartment. Like we had just enough money to like float, essentially. We were honestly like in the negatives a little bit. And so it's like, it required a miracle every month to be able to sustain us.
Do you mind if I share something personal?
Yeah.
So,
I do mind. Don't do that. Just kidding. Sorry, dude. I'm really bad about turning a serious moment like into a joke. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
Yeah, please,
it helps.
please
it
do.
helps.
Please do.
When you talk about Jehovah Jireh and trusting God to be your provider, growing up, that was always a thing in our family. We'd always like, oh gosh, it was so tough because I feel like somewhat scarred by that, because having to rely on God every single month and having to just, it kind of scars you a little bit. And that's something that I've been trying to overcome, and kind of getting back into that position of like, I do need to rely on God all the time. Because like growing up poor, growing up that way made me so like self-reliant, and like, I'm not going to be like that. I'm going to make sure that everything that I do, I can provide for myself. I'll make sure I'll never get in that situation, like with finances or with anything else. But just like having to trust God all the time for your finances. I feel so scarred by that from my childhood.
It was almost a negative thing. Like,
it became
Jehovah
a negative
Jireh is like, it's not a declaration. It's more like a desperation, right? So for you, it's like, you don't want to have to. Man, that's so good. Okay.
It was. It's something that I've had to overcome, and I don't even know if I'm fully over it. It's just something that just built up this very strong self-reliance, independence, and like, I'm not going to rely on God. I'm going to like do everything I can that I need to, so that I don't be in that situation, so that I don't have to rely on God. And now,
I mean, from the flesh, that makes sense, right? Like it makes sense that you need to be self-sufficient. If you're not making enough money, you just need to hustle harder, right? Especially in a capitalist society, like the money's out there, go get it. Like there's no excuse other than your slothfulness, But I think even as you continue to grow, and as you're, if it's your full-time career, or if you decide to start a business, or whatever direction you take, at some point, even when you're making, I take it back, in a business. So like when I was working, making good money, like that was different. It was consistent income. I didn't really have, the Lord had to keep breaking down that Jehovah Jireh thing for me, because like it happened in multiple phases in my life. As a kid, I had a very similar mindset as you did. I remember my mom, I was probably, the first time I realized we were poor, I think I was 7 or 8 years old. and my mom was in a grocery store, and me and my mom were in a grocery store. My sisters must have been home or something. And we were just kind of walking through the aisles, and we were at the local food line, and she had bread and cabbage and some other Slavic, essentials, potatoes, yeah, beets. But we had all the essentials, and I remember asking her for candy, and she always kept a list of the budget of what we could get, and candy wasn't on that list. And I saw her in a moment I don't know where her mindset was behind it, but I know what she did. I saw her put bread back and then turn to me and say, let's go get some candy. And that crushed me, man. In that moment, one, there was a different level of love and appreciation I had for my mom. I didn't get candy that day. I told her, no, I would rather have bread. But in that moment, I made a decision that I wasn't going to be like that. Right. And so in that moment, I had that mindset like, nope, not Jehovah Jireh, Stachy. Stachy's the provider. Right. I made an anger for my dad developed in that moment, because I was like, bro, how dare you put us in this situation? Like I couldn't trust him anymore. Like, and so in that, I made a promise to myself, like, I'm going to make more than my dad, like before I'm an adult. Like I have to, like, I need to start helping the family and stuff. So that's where the drug selling came from. I saw the people that I was around, like your community builds you, you know what I mean? Like you see people around you, you look up to them. That's who you want to be. I do the same thing with business mentors now. Like I'll look up to somebody who has a successful business, and depending and this is wrong, but depending on their success is how much I'd like for them to be my mentor. It makes sense, right? It makes sense to me, but it's like, it's not fair. Because what if there's somebody who's in year 5 that has all these systems in place that haven't really happened yet, and there's so much I could learn from him, but I don't view it that way, So I don't know where I went from that point, but basically this promise I made to myself, like I'm going to be the provider. Oh, it's like who you surround yourself by. That's who you want to be like who you look up to. And so the people I was around just weren't good people, they weren't, they had unhealthy habits. Let's put it that way. And, I saw the people that had money around me were people that were selling drugs and living a different lifestyle. And so I kind of gravitated towards that. I got presented the opportunity pretty quick. And then by the time I was 12 or 13, I was selling weed, in school, after school. And then started to get older friends that, they had cars and we'd drive around and stuff. And then that's when weed went from weed to cocaine, because there's a higher profit margin there. And I was like, yeah, I can do that. And that obviously led to a different lifestyle than I'm living today. But all that, the root of all that was provision, right? Like when I realized that money was the difference between like having what I wanted versus having to live like frugal and like really having to make sacrifices. And I didn't really want to make sacrifices. Your flesh doesn't want you to make sacrifices. Your flesh wants you to have everything your little heart ever desired, And people say, follow your heart. Bullcrap. Don't do that. Like follow the Holy Spirit, because your heart is going to tell you things that aren't good for you. You're going to want, like I just said, like you're just going to want everything that you're not going to want to sacrifice. And, so for me, that's kind of where the pursuit of money was my pursuit of happiness. And, I didn't really care at what cost, I was willing to do a lot of crazy things for money. And I did a lot of crazy things for money, a lot of things. Kind of like Trump just now, like Trump repeats himself. He's like, I did a lot of things for money, a lot of things. Like
they were good things.
Yeah.
Some were bad.
Very bad things. I did all the bad things, the worst things.
Maybe we all can learn a little bit from Trump's speeches.
Yeah. He's a better public speaker than me, that's for sure. Or I don't know. Sometimes I'm like, I don't know, maybe I could do better. But
thank you for sharing that story.
Yeah.
I relate to that so much. Like, I think growing up as an immigrant, from an immigrant family where your family just doesn't have much, you're new to a place, and it's something that like a lot of immigrants have in common. Just you don't. I was jealous a lot of my American friends.
Yeah.
Super jealous. Like I didn't see them struggling at all. Like I said, the biggest way that I felt separated was like financially, or like we were in a different social class. I had to work all the time. I couldn't hang out with friends. I just had to go work.
What did your dad do?
He was a mechanic. So
Okay.
he had a mechanic shop for I don't even know how long, 15 years or so. And it's tough. Like it was, first off, the Russian community. Everybody wants you to hook them up and, do everything cheap and do all that. So it was, I think it was kind of hard for him. I never thought, I think it's hard being a business owner. I think a lot of people aren't cut out for it. It just takes a lot of discipline. It takes, like, you have to know how to budget, how to do admin, how to do all this stuff. I have a lot of respect for business owners. And one thing that I'm super grateful for my dad is he was always hustling, always trying to figure out, like, oh, you can do this, you can start a business selling this, or you can start doing that. And that's one thing that he passed on to me, that like he's like an engineer. He's like an inventor, dude. There's so many things that he just started making. He's like, oh, there's a demand for this. I can easily do that. And then he made a business out of it. So he's had successful businesses, but the mechanic shop failed. I just learned a lot through that. But yeah, like I said, the biggest thing for me growing up and how I felt separated from everyone else was just like financially, like
the economical status, socioeconomic status,
or like a lot of things. I couldn't hang out with friends on the weekends because I had to work.
Yeah,
I hated that.
So what age were you starting to go to the shop?
Oh, bro. I think I was born there.
Crawling. You were using that what's that Gojo? What's the grease remover soap stuff?
Yeah, I use brake cleaner. I don't know about you.
It's even better. Your mom was like changing your diaper, spraying brake cleaner on you to get the grease off.
Pretty much, man. Yeah. No, but yeah, since I was a kid, that's all I remember. Going to the shop and work, and I'm grateful now. I hated it as a kid, but now I'm grateful because I can do just about anything I need to. And
let me tell you what, bud, work ethic. I say bud a lot in here. What?
Yeah.
Backdrop is up. Bud, dude. tapping into my what are those? The people that are like out in they talk like this, yeah.
Canadians?
No, that is Canadian. That was bad. That was racist. What is the people out in like the Midwest? Is that the Midwest?
Oh yeah. I don't know what the name for them.
Yeah, bud. Yeah. Maybe it's a Pennsylvania thing. I don't know.
It's definitely a Midwestern thing. It's definitely Wisconsin.
Okay, that's what it is. Yeah. So let me tell you about why that's also good for you. Let me mansplain it to you. Okay.
Wider.
Let me tell you something. Work ethic is like super rare. Good work ethic is super rare. And as an entrepreneur looking for hardworking, able-bodied people to come in and be hungry to work is my biggest challenge about hiring people in the trades, is being able to find young, passionate people. But beyond that is just like, come in with some grit. There's not a lot of grit, and so like what you growing up in the shop, like there's some grit that comes with that. You're not afraid to get your hands dirty. And you don't want to get it on your nice clothes, but like you can still get in there.
I hate it, but
yeah,
I can do it if
exactly. And that suck it up mentality, like suck it up, buttercup, is like one of my go-to sayings. You want to talk about some construction sayings?
Yeah, let's talk about some construction sayings.
Okay. So, don't take this personally. Like anyone who's watching, this isn't actually how we feel. Well, me, I don't. But there's one that's the most common one I would say is good enough for who it's for. That's a common one. I only use that when the homeowner's around as a joke. Like I'll be like they'll walk into a room and somebody will like come and ask me a question, and I'll be like, hey, is this acceptable? Like this right here? And I'm like, yeah, I mean, it's good enough for who it's for. And then like I wait to see their reaction. Like, what do you mean it's good enough? So I only do it as a joke. That's a common one though. Can't see it from my house. That's one. Around here we live in the trades. There's some that used to be old order Mennonites. Similar. I don't want to offend anybody. I don't know if I'm assuming it's similar to Amish lifestyle, to those who don't know what old order is. So you have a lot of folks that grew up going, to work in horse and buggy or getting around in horse and buggy. So I had this one guy that told me, he was like, I was like, what do you think? Is this going to work right here? And he's like, yeah, you won't see it from, what do you say? You can't see it from 42 on a galloping horse at midnight. That's what he would say. Like, just he said it fast. Oh yeah, you can't see it from 42 and midnight and Galloping Horse, however he said it. So that was one that was, came from old order.
How are these Amish people able to build so fast?
Dude,
what do you know about this?
I don't know enough apparently, because we're way behind schedule on their
Have you
terms.
thought about just hiring some Amish dude?
I had 3 old order Mennonites that used to work for me. Which is around here, that's the closest thing you can get to Amish. I had to settle.
I had to settle the dollar store version. We got Amish at home version.
So I had a crew. They were like handymen. I was running a separate crew, and but I don't. That is, it's solid people to have work for you, honestly. Yeah, so that's one of them. Good enough for who it's for. Trying to think. So a lot of them have cuss words in them, and so when I was born again Christian, I was really, that was like the last thing God was working on with me was my tongue, taming my tongue, because I used to be able to acclimate to any group. Like you'd throw me in with this like these people, I would sound like them, walk like them, talk like them very quickly. Throw me in over here, I would adapt and I would acclimate to that environment. So you threw me in with a group of construction workers that are cussing like sailors. Well, day 2, I'm in there with them too. And so that was one of the last things that really I had to tame my tongue. And so I really had, a lot of these sayings have like cuss words in them. And so I had to like improvise. I had to like kind of change them to not have cuss words in them. So one thing that they say is tighter than a gnat's, behind. And I'm not judging people if they're cussing. Like, I don't say, like, I'm not perfect. All right. Like, guys, my friends will cuss around me. Like, I'm not like condemning people. For me, that's my conviction. Okay. So let me just put that out there. I'm not like, when you get around me, don't feel like you have to be a type of person. Like, I hate that when people find out that that I'm a deacon at the church, they're like, they have to start acting a type of way. Yeah. I try to keep it under the radar. But when people find out, like, they think you're this person that they have to act a certain way around, I cannot stand that. So, guys at work, guys at, my friend group, be yourself, be authentic. To me, that's more important. I can work with that. We can walk together. We can develop together. I have a ton of stuff I need to grow in too, but anyways, for me personally, my conviction was not to cuss. And so, tighter than a gnat's, it has a nice flow to it, So like if wood is tight, or if a miter is really tight, like, man, that's tighter than a gnat's, And so it has a nice flow to it. So I had to change it because I can't say. I was like, my conviction would allow me to say that. So I say spider's butthole is what I say now. And it's got to be. There's got to be a level of immaturity in there. Yeah, I mean, you're you're working hard. You want to be able to have fun.
You want to be able to tell them how tight it is.
Yeah. Exactly. You want to express your craftsmanship. Another thing is the cat's meow. I don't know where that came from, but they say it on job sites all the time. Like, man, this is the cat's meow. Like, you get a new tool, you give it to an old guy and he likes it. He's like, man, buddy, this is the cat's meow. And it's like, all right, yeah, sure.
I like that. I don't know where it came from.
I don't know where that came from.
Good.
That's something you can ask on social media. Like, when I was going to West Virginia and I was like, anybody know what West by God came from? Like, one person commented where it actually came from, why people say West by God for Virginia. So it is destiny related, but Virginia did not want West Virginia to exist. And so it was more like a political thing. The citizens of West Virginia wanted West Virginia. And so when that officially happened, they were saying it was West Virginia by God. So it was like God.
Only God could have done this.
Yeah.
I see.
So that's where it came from. But there's so one person commented on the video, but then I'd be walking around town and people would be like, hey, I wanted to comment so bad on that video and tell you where West Virginia came from, but I was like, why didn't you? It's just so that's one thing I'm going to start doing is asking questions. Like, I don't know what this means.
Opening up conversation. I think I was actually listening to something yesterday that was really impactful for me. And the question the guy asked was like, last piece of content that you posted, did you open up a conversation? The whole thing is about teaching people. And like, what do some of the best teachers do? They start a conversation with you. Instead of just talking at you, you converse back and forth. And the best way that you can do that with content, and like the way you start any conversation, is you ask a question. Hey, how's your day going? hey, what's the last thing that you did that really made you feel seen? Or like, what's the, like, and then that opens up the conversation. So if we're not doing that in our content and actually opening up dialogue and conversation between us and the audience, then we're not really doing it right. Because that's how you get engagement, but also just how you start conversations. And if the goal of putting stuff out there is to talk and to connect with more people.
Yeah. To have an impact. So even if they're not engaging with you, I would hope that the people that wanted to comment why West by God is West by God, I would hope that they were talking to someone else about that. Like that would be cool. Yeah. So like that's opening conversation even beyond just like interaction with the video. You do what you do want, but it is cool to think about like you're sparking conversations, people are talking.
And I think like you said, that's how you make an impact. I missed the West by God video. So you put that out there and you just said, this is a saying. I don't know where it's from.
Yeah, it was just one of my raw reels. And I was just like,
tell me more about your raw reels real quick.
My real reels?
Your real reels, super real raw reels.
Yeah.
When you
also known as truck talk.
Truck talk.
Yeah.
I love all the alliterations, man. You're putting on a branding masterclass.
I'm lazy. It's a way of it's like a way I don't want to edit. So I have to come up with clever phrasing for it to make it sound like it was intentional.
So is this every reel you put out, you call it a raw reel, or is there a certain like format, or do you put them out a certain day, or?
No, it's if we're being honest, it's when I really need to put something out there. And what I do, so some of my reels are edited where it's like a before and after. If it's like the hammer swinging thing, like that was more of like a intentional, like, hey, record this. This is going to be a reel. I know this is going to get some reaction. I wasn't expecting 4.1 million or whatever it's at now, but I knew that I might get a couple thousand views on this, and people are going to think this is either they're going to be aggravated by it, or they're going to think it's funny, or they're going to, whatever. But raw reels or truck talk or real reels comes out from when I'm driving down the road. Cause as a GC that's managing multiple projects, I'm driving a lot and my brain works a ton when I'm driving. Almost too much, where actually one of my raw reel ideas, which I can never catch it. I want it to be authentic. So I don't want to like act, but I really want to be able to catch a moment where I'm driving. Cause this happens all the time. I'll be driving in my head, like so much. I'll be driving and I'm like, wait, where am I going? I'm like, where am I supposed to, like, I think I missed my turn like 5 minutes ago. Like, does that ever happen to you?
Yeah.
So, okay. So good. So but basically raw reels is like when I want to I'll set up my phone, like in my little phone holder. That way I'm still hands on the wheel and eyes on the road. And then it's just like me just talking about whatever's on my mind in that moment. Like if I'm thinking about something, I'm like, oh, I could just record this, and I'll just talk out loud about it. So that's what a raw reel. And so one of them was I was going into West Virginia and I was just, telling the people that I was going to West Virginia. And I was like, hey guys, I'm going to West Virginia. I got a long drive ahead of me. I'm going to West by God. And when I said that, I was like, I say that, but I don't, and what I'm thinking, I'm saying out loud. So I'm thinking, but I'm also saying like, I say that all the time. I refer to West Virginia as West by God, but I don't know where that came from. Like I should probably know what it means before I keep saying it. It's probably not wise. Then I was like, hey, if anyone knows what West by God, where that came from, please drop a comment. Let me know. Ended the reel and just kept driving to West Virginia. And like, that's all that was. So it's just literally just me thinking out loud, sitting in the truck.
I love that. I love that format too. Mm-hmm. People don't know this, but cars are actually designed to have like amazing acoustics.
What?
So it's a really good format. And I think one of the things that make it easier. I couldn't do truck talk until I got a new truck. My car is really bad, so I can't do content with my car either because it's so loud.
Mine, like I have an old diesel truck with mud tires, and not just for look. It looks cool. Don't get me wrong, but some of the projects we're doing are like out cabins are out in the middle of a field, in the middle of the woods. You got to be accessible, So the old diesel truck, you crank it up. I'm driving down the road. I've tried it. You can't hear squat. It's just like. But then I got a new like more kind of get around truck, and I'm like, this is nice. The interior's nice. It's like
it sounds insulated.
Yeah, it sounds insulated. It's quiet when I'm driving down the road, so it works for that. But
that's why I'm trying to tell myself, like, I need to get a new car because I need to make content in it, and my car is way too loud.
That's hilarious. But yeah, that's truck talk is it's a good. I'm gonna keep doing it. I haven't got the reaction that I would like. I mean, but like I said, like if I'm doing social media just because I like it, it's really hard to like it's hard to determine what type of stuff to post based on reaction. You know, it's like, because I'm not like, I do want reaction. I want reactions. I want interactions. So if a video is not doing well, I'm most likely not going to do that again.
Right.
But it's also hard. It's like, well, if you want to be yourself on social media, then you got to find different ways to be yourself.
I think you find balance between knowing what didn't work and adjusting and learning from it, and also just doing something because you want to do it. You're not always, and sometimes like those aren't mutually exclusive. You can do something that you wanted to do, it didn't perform well, just learn why it didn't, and then adjust it. You can still do what you want to do.
Dude, you just triggered something about integrity that I want to touch on. I heard this quote, and it's been crazy. I've been like chewing on it for a few days. My vision for like, not just for the business, but for myself, like long term, is for the people that talk the most highly about me are the people that know me the best. Does that make sense? That's like my goal. And so that goes along with integrity, because like I think a lot of times people can put max effort into somewhere else, like into work, but then they go home and they're not as like tapped in, you know? And so the people that are like, like my family, I want them to talk the most highly about me. And that challenges me, because I think right now, if you were to do that, I think there's definitely there's a focus that I put towards business that trickles into like family time. And so like I'm grind mode right now, and I can tell my 6'4" and 2-year-old, well, maybe not a 2-year-old, but I can tell my 6 and 4-year-old that I'm doing this for them as much as, I could tell them that all day long, every day, but that's not going to register to them. That's not what they need. They don't need their dad to tell them that, hey, I'm growing something for you so that you don't have to struggle the way that I struggled. They don't care. You know what I mean? Like they're not going to feel it. Yeah, they're not going to feel it. And so that's not, that's a conviction of mine. It's like, I want my kids, my wife, my siblings, my mom, my dad, I want them to, like, if somebody was to interview them, I want them to have the best things to say about me, as opposed to like my employees, my clients, if that makes sense. So
totally. I think that as a business owner, it's really easy to get all your kicks from the business that you're growing, because I mean, you're spending all your time and effort and energy. Mm-hmm. So like you get excited about like, oh, like this video is doing well. Mm-hmm. Or like for me, like it's like, oh, this marketing strategy is finally working. Like, you get all your enjoyment and excitement out of that. And it's easy to just let your personal life slip, or just to put too much energy on that. And that's something that like a lot of business people and these like podcasts and leaders, they don't really talk about how like you spend all your time making your business your baby, and you start neglecting your personal life at home. That can have a huge impact. And I think it's just not talked about enough.
I think we're fed that too. Like a lot of business moguls and large people are saying like, you have to do that in order to be successful. Like from what I hear, from what I experience in the videos that I watch, a lot of people do say that like, you have to sacrifice holidays, you have to sacrifice this and that and the other in order to see your business grow. And that's one of those things too. Like some of my mentors might say some stuff and I'm like, I can't tie myself to that. I can't agree with that. And so one of the things for me that I have to always remind myself is like my first year, when we did really well my first year. And people would always ask me like, what are you looking forward to the most in starting your company, starting your business, going off on your own? And my answer was always that I'm looking forward to spending more time with my family. And they were like, oh yeah, good luck, because of the stereotypical, like you're just going to be at work all the time. That's going to be your life now. But that wasn't the case. My first year, I spent more time at home with my family than I did when I was working for another company, than I, on the job sites and stuff. Now, mind you, I was working more than your average Joe. When I was working for that company, I was putting in like 70 hours a week for like average for that company. So I didn't take, I worked less, but it was a healthy balance. And then as the business grew, I kind of started to lose focus of that a little bit. Now to the point where like, I don't have healthy boundaries set, because it's lifestyle. Like GCing is a lifestyle, like I was saying earlier. I don't have healthy boundaries right now with, I'm working on them, but like if my phone rings at 11:30 p.m., I'm answering it. If it's work related, that's not healthy for me, my conviction, that's not healthy. My wife, first of all, is like the best person I know, and she does the most for me. And one thing that she does is she sacrifices without complaining. And so like, it's hard for me because if I ask her what I need to be like, hey, how can I help you better? Like, she's just so like ready to sacrifice for me that like, I need to be, as a leader, I need to be more sensitive to what she needs than she does, if that makes sense. Because for her, she's willing to drop everything for me. Like she will, if I had a meeting the other night, I had a meeting at 8:30. We put the kids down usually at 8, and I was hoping to be able to catch the meeting at 8:30 after helping with putting the kids down to bed. Well, we got home later than you anticipated, blah, blah, blah. Basically, I had to run downstairs and without doing bedtime. And so if I were to ask her like, hey, did that, like, would you want me to participate more? Like if I did that on a regular basis, she would be totally okay with that, because she's like, okay, I need to sacrifice this for you to be able to be better, like to succeed. So, but I have to set my own boundary to be able to love her better, right? I can't ask her like, hey, how can I love you better? I can, and that's a normal conversation you should have, but I need to be more sensitive to what she needs than she even. Yeah, I need to anticipate the needs quicker than she's like willing to tell me what they are. And so like bedtime is like a big thing for me. Like I'm not, like that's a new boundary I'm setting. Like after bedtime, like it's no more business. Or like right before bedtime, I mean like no more business. But that's just, yeah, I need to get better about setting boundaries. I don't know where I was going with that, where I started with that, but that's the thing that I struggle with. Like we're talking about struggles with business. That's a struggle for me. Setting boundaries, because business is my life almost. It's like I almost forgot that in my first year, I was able to spend more time with my family and be financially successful. So I got to be able to find that balance again. I think if I don't set boundaries, then everything's going to overflow. Okay. I think about boundaries like a bank on a river. Like I need to be able to kind of establish my bank, or that river is it's just going to keep getting wider and wider, and it's going to overtake. So for me, just kind of finding out, I usually pray about like what my boundaries need to be. And then when I feel a peace about something, then it's like, okay, this is logical, but also I feel like a peace about it. Then it's like, that's what I'm going to set a boundary with. I think that's the best way. I think
it's hard too, because like you want to grow it so badly. Like you do want to put a lot into it because you see the future value. You see what it can be, and it's just hard not to be excited about that.
And that's a reminder too, that like it goes back to like, who are we doing this for? You know, like, are you doing this for yourself? Because if you're doing it for yourself, then that doesn't make sense for you to spend less time doing it. If you're doing it for another reason, like if I'm doing it to glorify God and to be able to, for my family to be able to have something, well, there's no point in me spending all my time on it, because then I'll get the glory for it, and I won't have a family at the end of it to hand it over to. You know what I mean? So it's like, so really you have to figure out what your goal is here. Like, what are you trying to accomplish? Because if you're trying to make your name great, and if you're trying to, then like if you're trying to get the credit for it and you're trying to make your name great, then yes, the answer is throw everything else out and just focus on this for the rest of your life. Right? I mean, logically that's what the solution is. If your goal is to be able to live a life outside of your career and spend time with your family, then that can't be the answer. And so then it's like, well, then I have to reevaluate, like, what am I doing this for? And so for me, as a believer, as a Christian, knowing that like I want to glorify God in everything I do, and I want to steward this business that He gave me well, that gives me the freedom then to set boundaries, because then I'm willing to surrender. I'm willing to submit this thing to Him, and I'm willing to say, all right, God, this is yours. You're a provider, but even beyond that, like you're not chaotic, so you don't want my life to have chaos. And so, like, take the business, take my family, and help me figure out how to do life. take my friend group, take all this stuff. He's Lord for a reason, right? Like a landlord, it's you're renting from, like, that's not yours. You're just renting it, right? And so if he's Lord over my life, he's Lord over everything. I don't get to pick and choose what he's Lord over. I don't get to say, all right, this thing's like, for me, control is a huge issue spiritually. I want to control everything because it makes it like, I just do. I don't know why, but probably my flesh. But so a big thing for me has been surrendering control over to God and being able to like admit that he's Lord over every area of my life. And so recently what I've discovered is what I'll do subconsciously is I'll surrender control like of everything to him. But then there's little niche, or whatever the word is. There's little niche areas that like I'll just conveniently hold on to or just forget to surrender to him. One perfect example, the most recent one has been finances. I surrendered my finances over to him, multiple times, but even in this career, no, for me, so tithing is, I'm a firm believer in tithing. But for me, what that means, it's more of a mentality shift. Like I'm not the provider of my family, right? That pressure is not on me. God uses me to go to work that he provides for me to then provide for my family. But God is the provider, right? For instance, if I feel this conviction, if I start praying about this and I feel like God is calling me to go be a dentist, right? That's like super random. Like if I really feel that conviction, then I'm going to drop what I'm doing. I'm going to go to school and I'm going to become a dentist because I can't afford to be disobedient. Not at this point, not with what I've experienced. I've tried to do things on my own. I've tried to do things in my way, and they've always failed. But as long as I'm submitted to him and I feel like I'm walking where he's calling me to, it's always been fruitful in a good way. And so financially, like I have to admit to myself that there's nothing I can do that's going to create this financial stability on my own. It's not going to be worth it anyways. I might be able to make money, but it's not going to be worth it. So for me, like surrendering finances over to his lordship looked like, all right, God, I'm just in no longer control these finances. Like you use me to go to work. And if I'm doing it to glorify you, I'm going to be set apart at work, which is then going to be able to, like, you think about Joseph, right? The nice colored coat guy. So his brothers sold him to slavery. When he got to Egypt, he was glorifying God in everything that he did, which meant that he was set apart. So even if it didn't make sense for him to work hard there, he was working hard there because he wanted God to be glorified. So that allowed him to just move up in the ranks super fast. And then eventually he became the right hand to Pharaoh. And he was in control of everything Pharaoh was in control of. And so like Joseph didn't want the credit for that. He just wanted God to be glorified. Yet he still got moved up through the ranks with his humility. And so I think about that too. Like for me, it's not necessarily like giving up like finances, like, okay, this is too much, so I'm just giving it up because I don't want to do it anymore. It's God, I want you to use me to be able to provide for my family. And so that's kind of what that meant for me. But so surrendering finances over to him was one thing, right? I did that a while back, and I would just have to repeat it, keep telling myself that, all right, I'm not a provider. God's using me to provide for my family. And, but then what I didn't do, what I noticed is, my schedule, my calendar, my work calendar was in my control. Like I was trying to control it, and I didn't surrender that over to God's lordship. And so, but that's directly correlated to my finances as a business owner. If my calendar is empty, I'm not making money. So I'm allowing this calendar to stress me out because I'm trying to make cold calls if I have to. I'm doing what I need to fill this calendar. But then God's like, hey, like you're stressed out about that. I want you to not stress out about that. I'm just waiting for you to like literally just pray about that and give that over to me. Let me be in control of your calendar also. So then for me to be able to pray about that and be like, all right, God, I'm giving you control of my calendar. Like I'm choosing to lay this down at your feet and not stress out about it anymore. Like before, when it was empty, I was stressed out because we don't have work. And before, if it was full, I was stressed out because how am I going to tackle all this stuff? Now it's, all right, God, it's empty. Like, Lord, I know like I've given this over to you. If this is empty, maybe there's something else you're trying to show me. Like maybe there's like, this is our calendar now. And so if it's empty here, where else would you want me to spend my time? Or like where, like, and so I'm feeling a peace about it being empty. It's not a big deal because I failed or I did something wrong. It's just like, all right, where's the lesson in this for me? And then when it's full, it's like, Lord, thank you so much for like, this calendar reflects, directly reflects how you're providing for our family, because we have all this work lined up. And if I think about the details of like, if I think about how each of those jobs got on there, it's almost like when you think about people that believe in like destiny or like the universe lining things up, it almost makes sense, because it's like, if you think about those details, it's like that didn't happen by chance. God himself orchestrated all this stuff to happen. And so I can know that to be true because it just wouldn't make sense any other way. Like the way that client called me, or like the way that I just ran into somebody and at the grocery store and then found out they needed a deck and found out that I was a builder, and like that doesn't make sense. The universe didn't line that up. The creator of the universe lined that up. And so I got to give credit to him, when I'm looking at it, when I'm trying to be stressed out about it.
So when your calendar is full, you feel like God's doing a really good job providing for me right now. How do you not feel when your calendar is empty? How do you not feel that God's not providing for me right now?
I think we as a people, and I don't just mean like in America, I think just human race, we have, since the fall of man, we have this entitlement, right? And so we think it's about us, right? But it's not. It's not about us. He designed us and he wants what's best for us. But what's best for us sometimes isn't always money, right? It's not always one thing. And so I think for me to be able to answer that question, I need to be able to understand who God is. And in order for me to understand who God is, I need to know what the Bible says about him, right? And so if I know he is Jehovah Jireh, he's my provider, then I can give him glory when my calendar's full, right? When the calendar's empty, I also need to understand he's Jehovah Shalom. I also need to understand that he is God of my peace, right? And so I need to know that in this season, when my calendar is empty, maybe me feeling like I have security isn't what I need right now. Maybe me feeling like even in chaos, even through this kind of, maybe feel like I'm going through a storm, there's another thing that he's trying to develop in me. And it's not just financial security. It's maybe it's a peace that I need to feel, that I need to be able to rest in him and that he's enough. Or, that might just be one lesson that he wanted to teach in the empty calendar. Another huge lesson that I've had to learn when times are tough has been, there's a verse that says, give glory to God through, not only through these, and it's talking about like good times, but it says also through times of tribulation, right? And it's like, well, that doesn't make sense. Like we're talking about a full calendar. We were giving glory to God in that. Well, now the Bible's telling me to give glory to God when my calendar's empty, when there's no money in the account. I might be in the negative. I might owe people money and I don't have it in there. How does God get the glory in that? Well, that verse continues on to say, give glory to God through times of tribulation, because tribulation produces perseverance. Perseverance produces character, and character produces hope. And hope does not disappoint, because it was a gift given to us through the Holy Spirit. It was given to us through Jesus. It was given to us through God. And so that's just another lesson that God might be trying to build our character so that we can have a larger capacity for hope, in him. So it's like, because if your schedule is just let's say you're giving God the glory for your full schedule. Okay. All right. 1 month, 2 month, 3 month, 4 month, 5 months. You go even like, I don't know anybody that would last a year without like at some point starting to feel like, all right, I kind of have like, this is how it's going to continue. If your chart's looking like this, at some point you're trusting that chart, you're trusting the math. You're not really putting the trust in God. And so I think a lot of times like that little bit of a dip, it's like you don't need to have hope if everything's looking good, right? But you got to have, if it's not looking good, you got to have hope, right? And so that's how else can he increase our capacity for hope unless we are reliant on him for a time that doesn't make sense to rely on him.
How fragile we are as humans.
Dude, it's so frustrating.
It's like I never felt closer to God than when I'm at my lowest.
Yeah, exactly.
And
you're in the
everything's going
pit.
great. Like you're like, I got it, God. Thank you. You're good. You're great. Thank you for helping me out. All me now though. And then like you get that little dip. And then you're just like, oh God, help.
what's funny is we're so fragile, like you said, for me anyways, we're so fragile that we need him even when everything's going too good. You know, like for me, my moments of surrender have been when I'm overwhelmed with how good things are going. Like in business is a great place to catch that revelation. Like when you have so much work that you have to start turning down jobs or referring them to other people, it's like I've been bawling in my car and I'm like, God, I have to surrender this over to you. Like my control issue, like it used to happen like once a year I had to surrender. And then it was like every 6 months. It'd get to this point and then it was every month. And now it's just a consistent thing where I'm just giving him, you know, his title of lordship back and putting him on the throne. But it used to be this thing where I had to be driving in the car and just start bawling and be like, God, I'm tired of it. Like I'm tired of having control over my life. Like take it. Like I just can't. And so my crying out to him would happen in my lowest lows, and my crying out to him would happen because I'm so fragile. It would happen in my highest highs when I feel like I can't handle all this. This is too much pressure, you know, like it's going too well. And so it's like in both of those moments, God's like, all right, you know, like, come here, son, I got you. But yeah, that's exactly right. Like when yeah, we're fragile. I hate it, but I love it because there's a reliance on him. And one thing recently for me that's been kind of my faith walk, my journey currently is I got a new Bible, like a physical Bible, and ever since I was 19, I might have had one, but it was like King James version, and I was not reading it. And so,
not a King James guy.
No, I'm not a King James guy. I didn't grow up in the church, I think, enough to understand. I didn't have people teach me kind of what some of that stuff meant and stuff. So, well, I grew up in like the Slavic church, and so that's a whole different thing. But at 19, you know, whatever, blah, blah, I couldn't really understand the King James version. So I'd read it on my phone all the time, the Bible app. And so recently, a couple months ago now, I got a physical Bible in the translation that I like. And I was reading it, and I was like, I want to read it from cover to cover. So I'm back in Genesis reading through it. And right now, currently where I'm at is like, I feel God calling me back to the garden. Like just before the fall of man, like they were like, God's like, just come walk with me, just dwell with me, just be with me in the garden. Just don't worry about everything. A crazy fact about provision, that I caught this revelation like since, you know, in the last couple of months, when Adam was placed in the garden. He wasn't created in the garden. Adam was created outside of the garden, and God placed him in the garden, and the garden was already there. Then Adam was assigned the responsibility to name animals. Well, not responsibility, the opportunity really, because God could have done it. So he was given responsibility. He was put on mission, name these animals, right? What I just caught this latest time reading Genesis, God would go and bring animals and place them in front of Adam, and Adam would name them. And this, like, that imagery for me was so simple, and like, in the fact that how much of my life, even outside of my career, do I feel like, even in my spiritual walk, I'm supposed to like go and do all this work to glorify God. And it's like Adam was just dwelling with God, and God was presenting opportunities in front of him. God was presenting things for Adam to do in front, like right, and plopping them in front of Adam. And Adam was just kind of standing there, you know, like, that's a lion, that's a tiger, you know, that's an anteater for sure, because my boy's eating ants, you know. He wasn't speaking English; it was pre-Babylonian, but I just think that's such a simple image for me that I never really caught before, of just God's doing all the work, and yet somehow I feel like I get credit for some of this stuff, you know? And so I have to step back and be in the garden with God and kind of relearn that none of this is like, this is all for me, but none of this is because of me, right? My daughter, oh my goodness. My daughter she's 2 years old. And when she prays, she thanks God. Actually, I think my daughter and my oldest son have both done this. But so my daughter will thank God for making stuff for her. Like, she'll be like, God made that tree for me. And she'll be like, we'll go somewhere, and she'll be like the sunset, you know, God made that for me at 2 years old. And I'm like, I almost wanted to stop that, suppress that. I'm like, no, he did, you know, like he could have made that for you. You know, like that's beautiful. There's this intimacy with her and God that she sees a sunset and it's like, God made that so I could see beauty, you know? And I think that's so beautiful. And my son would say the same thing. My son, when he would pray, my oldest, he would pray when he was probably like 3 or 4. And he would pray and he would say, you know, God, thank you for making the world for me. Thank you for making the trees for me and stuff like that. And so there's this, I've noticed, I just now realized that both of them were doing that. But there's this pattern of like, you know, we're born into sin, but children have this purity about them, I think. And there's like this purity that they have when they come to know Jesus, that there's like this, my kids will pray for stuff that they never even knew was an issue. My kids will pray for homelessness. My kids will intercede for where we live. They'll intercede for our country. That's not something that even they don't see that in my prayer life. That's something that the Holy Spirit is leading them to do. And it's so beautiful to see. And so that's something that kind of has challenged me in this season where I'm at, is like, just dwell with me in the garden. Like, notice everything around you is beautiful. Just relax. There's this peace that I want to give you. Okay. And just be with me. And like, let's relearn who I am. Like, let's relearn who Stachy is. And that no matter what I do, no matter what I don't do, there's nothing that I can do more or less to make God love me more or less. Right. Like, if my son does something, or if something tragic happens, it's like, he is no less my son. You know, she is still my daughter. He's still my son. And the same way goes for me. I feel like we can do this stuff there's like this, almost like this shift that happened for me. Like, I went from wanting myself to get the glory to then wanting God to get the glory. And then when I failed, I felt like I failed God. I think God's like, no, that's not the point. The point is that you just be with me. And that's what I want. You know, like, you can glorify me and then just be with me. If you fail, it's not like, the pressure's not on me. You know, like, he's not going to change how he views me, regardless of how I take care of his stuff.
One of the biggest ways that we put God in a box is like in business, because like it's God is God and business is business. And one of the goals of this podcast is kind of bring those together a little bit more. In your business life, how much do you give up your calendar to God, you give up your finances to God? How much of that transfers over to like your clients? How much do you talk about that at all with your clients?
I think the best evangelism is like lifestyle, right? And so I think me being set apart is like, there's a difference about me that people notice pretty quick. And if they ask me about it, that's the first thing I'm talking about. That's it. Yeah. So it's like, that's the conversation starter. And so because it's so much of my life, it comes up in conversation. But I think now, even in today's day, it's like, you can be like, I'm trying to think of like, you know, if I'm like, you know, I'm just super blessed, you know what I mean? Like, phrases like that, where people can say that, and that's not like, you know, you're not stepping on someone's toes, you know, because that can mean so many different things. So I communicate in a way that I'm just trying to make sure God gets the glory. And so by me not cussing, right, around clients and stuff, not only does that bring a level of professionalism, but it also, like, I'll notice, like, with clients or with employees, they'll cuss, and then they get around me long enough, and then they just naturally, I think they're cussing less around me. And I don't know if that's because they're basically, I'm not going to change my standard because of how you operate. So when I go in, my standard is my standard, right?
That's such a difference from what you were talking about earlier, where you used to just be a chameleon, fit in anywhere.
That is crazy. Yeah. So that was a huge shift for me. That was a huge maturity step that God kind of walked me through, was becoming a thermometer to a thermostat. You know, like walking into a room and like being able to adapt to an environment as a thermometer, versus coming into a room and being like, I'm not changing based off of the environment of this room. I am who I am. And I really, like, y'all could meet me here, or y'all can stay down there. I'm not changing. And so, and I do that. I try to do that everywhere. And so even with clients, like, I'll walk in and my language doesn't change because I'm with someone else. You know, I'm still giving God the glory, And if that offends them, then we're not getting that, we might not get that job. Or if they're curious about it, they can ask me questions about it. But it's definitely has come up in every single conversation I've had. I mean, because it's so much of my life, it's hard not to,
Yeah, that's the goal.
Yeah. And it also helps because like being a business owner, there isn't like a set of rules that I have to follow as far as like how I operate, I mean, there is like legal stuff, but like for instance, I tried to, when I first started, and I want to continue to do this, but we started this devotional, like morning devotional time before we go to work. Okay. I'm not guaranteeing all my guys are believers when I hire them. I just say guys because that's who I have now. Girls one day, maybe, I don't know. But my crew, my team members they're not all required to be believers. So I can't require them to come into this morning devotional, but it's an open door. It's an open invitation. Hey, 30 minutes before work, I'm going to do this devotional before we go out. I'm going to pray for us before we go out, and we're going to go out. If you want to be here for that, cool. If you don't want to be here for that, come at this time because that's when we're wrapped up and we're ready to go. But I need you to be here at that time because that's when we're, that's like a business. That's like, we got to leave at that time, but before that, feel free to come in if you'd like to, and I've had people that aren't believers that have came to those meetings and have even participated and, had made some comments and stuff. And so that's really like, I love that.
What I love the most about what God teaches us is even if you're not a Christian, it's just like the best way to do life.
Yeah,
like setting your daily goals and being mindful about what you want to do. Like that's just healthy. That's just good to like talk about the things that like just reflect, just to wake up in the morning, spend extra time, reflect and journal or do whatever you need to do to kind of think about your day. It just brings this kind of presence and calmness to it.
Yeah. I think there's nothing like the Bible says, there's nothing new under the sun. Right. Mm-hmm. And so I think like right now, the things that manipulate society the most, I mean, I think we can both agree on this, is politics, right? The last probably 10 years, I think politics has manipulated society the most. There's been this division and, but what's funny is if you look at both sides, all the good stuff that comes from those is all like, it's rooted in scripture at some point because there's nothing new under the sun. So it's just like, there's every single party has, like you have one side saying that we need to love everyone, we need to love everyone better, love everyone more. Right. And they might twist that in a way, but the root of that is we need to love everyone more, and then you have this other side that's saying like, well, we're not like, we need to do things different. Like we need to set more boundaries. We need to do like, I'm trying to keep it as vague as possible, but
no, get specific.
Okay. Well, you have like, you have the left talking about, they're like, love, what do they say? Like love is love, or like, it's like love is love. And like, you need to love everyone. It's like, love your neighbor, the immigrants coming in, we need to love them better. Like it's all love, 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 love. But then there's this like, it's almost diluted to a point where it's like, there's like, because when you love someone so much that's not pure, then you don't have boundaries. You're enabling somebody. You know what I mean? And so
turn to enablement pretty fast.
Yeah, really fast. And so love, 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 love on one side, and the other side is like we need to get back to the root. Like we need to separate this. This is right. This is wrong. Like we're doing things the right way now. Versus like all inclusive on the left side, where it's like everything goes. Because we just want to love, and then you have the right side. It's like, I want to love well. So it's like the way we do that is we set these lines, we set these boundaries. This is right, this is wrong, and we're going to do the right. And this is how we love well. They're not talking about love as much as the left is, but that's, in my eyes, that's like they're trying to do right and wrong, and they're trying to distinguish between what's right and what's wrong. But both sides, it's like the core of both sides is rooted in scripture, because it's like and that's what you're saying. Like, no matter if you're a believer or not, like it's the right way to live. It's like, yeah, that's how we were designed. It's like, we're all trying to figure out, how we were designed, and it's like, as believers, we know how we were designed. We know who designed us. And so even in that has its own challenges. Like even that, like that's not the answer. Being a Christian isn't the answer. Jesus is the answer. So even if we give our life to the Lord, like we still don't get credit for, like, we didn't do anything right. We made the right decision, but we still didn't, like, we're not getting to eternity. We don't get to live in like for eternity in heaven because we made a choice. We get to live in eternity in heaven because Jesus did something. He died on the cross, and then we chose him, So we still don't get the credit. Jesus still gets the credit. I try not to talk about politics. I have such a, I think a lot of people try not to talk about politics, but I guess I'm just like everyone else. But I think I have such a variety of like the people around me are just, the whole spectrum, I just want to love people better, but I don't want to do it how society's telling me to do it. That's for sure. Yeah. I want to do it how scripture commands me to do it. And I want to do it out of compassion. And, one of the things that I commonly pray about, like reoccurring, is, Lord, help me be a better lover tomorrow than I was today. Help me be a better father, help me be a better brother, help me be a better son. Help me be a better friend, tomorrow than I was today. It's just always this room for improvement and growth. And that includes everyone. That's not a specific group of people, or I just want to love my neighbors better.
Yeah. That was like the whole focus of the last podcast I did, is how by loving, you actually can run a better business, by actually loving people better and serving them better. Something I really love. So I just want to segue into the last part of this.
Let's talk about business again.
Let's talk about business. Let's get back. So if I want to love people the way that you talk about, and I want to do that through a business, and you're just starting out, like you have this goal, you have this vision, and you want to start a business, what advice would you give to a person who's just starting out in the business world?
I would tell new business owners not to compromise. Don't compromise your vision. Don't compromise your passion. What you do. I think kind of be stubborn. Be stubborn. I think it's a negotiating tactic. It's like is to not to compromise, is to be stubborn. But I think the biggest thing, like even for me, I'll make it practical. Like even a couple of days ago, I almost compromised the ability to control the rest of my social media to an account that wanted me to sign a contract because I had one video that went viral.
For those that don't know, Stachy has recently been doing great on social media. And recently he put out this reel of him double hammering these cut nails. And it went viral, mega viral, 4 million views. And I'm guessing some company reached out and wanted to handle your social media for you.
Yeah. So I had the message itself was very warm and fuzzy. I was like, the DM was nice. I was like, oh, okay. This is, I received a message from another company that had no ill intent. And they just wanted to, benefit from the video going viral. And so I had given them permission to collaborate on the video because there was no contract signed. There was no, basically they just got permission to post it on their page. I saw their page. They were reposting it with crediting, the original person and stuff like that. So then another page reached out with a similar message, and I was like, okay, even more, this is cool. This will be, another, teaming up, whatever. Well, then I went to their page and I did some more research, and then they sent over a contract they wanted me to sign before we could collaborate on this video. I read the contract. I was like, this is like giving up. It was essentially in the contract, it was giving up. Can I just look it up really quick?
Yeah.
So essentially, it was the contract was giving up or giving them the right to operate in the likeness of me, or something like that. And so I was like, I kind of did some research. And I was like, what does that mean? And I started looking up some other stuff. So essentially, they could benefit commercially through my videos, and they could edit them in any way that they wanted to. And I had no say in how they would edit them. So I didn't like that. And then another line was basically it signing the contract gave them permission to do that for every video posted on from then on out. And so I was like, what? Like, y'all, I'm not giving you access to benefit commercially in my likeness and in the business name for forever. I was like, I'm not doing that. I'm not signing a contract like that. And this was a very, very big page. Like they run multiple pages. They're very well known pages. Yeah, that was really interesting for me. So me not compromising on my integrity, I was like, yeah, I can't do that. Even though, you know, it's like, this is going to give me a ton of views. They'll promote the rest of my stuff, you know, for a little bit, but then it's like, you know, what am I compromising here though? And so for me, just, I sent them a counter offer, and it was it was all the benefits were on my side. You know, I was like, you can't do this. You can't do this. You can do this though. You know, essentially what the other page did, you can repost it, you know, with, showing my page and business name and stuff. And there was no response, you know, so obviously I didn't do that, but that's kind of like, I don't want people to compromise on the wrong things, you know, like I think people will compromise for money, you know, if it, like, it's huge, like a job somebody doesn't want to do, and then they'll price themselves out of it, and not knowing they're the only bid. And so they're just like, oh, I'm just going to price myself out of this job. And they price it for, you know, 40% higher than what the actual estimate was for. And then they get the job. And so like, all right, well, I'll do it for that money. You know, it's like, from a business standpoint, that kind of makes sense because you made it worth it for yourself. But for me, like, my conviction is I want to be fair, and I want to treat people with integrity. So it's like, even if I don't want to do the job, if I feel like I can do the job, I'm going to give them like a normal price for it. Mm-hmm. And if I get it, I get it, which I'm not going to be happy about because I don't really want the job for whatever reasons, but I'm still going to do it for a fair price. That's just for me. But I think I see people just kind of being really shifty, like in business. And I think people make business about money. And so that just like, they're just like, at whatever cost, you know, they're just like, I'm going to be successful at any cost. And so then they're willing to stab people in the back. They're willing to take advantage of people. They're willing to manipulate, you know? And so I would say I don't recommend that.
All right. I think that'll wrap us up, man.
Yeah, man. It's getting hot. It's lunchtime now.
Yeah,
it is lunchtime.
Thank you so much for coming on, Stachy.
Yeah, thank you, man. Thanks for having me.